Hi, this is Dr. Chad Upchurch again, and welcome to our latest video that we've been producing to help people understand a little bit more about our office and what we do. This is the video that I would probably consider to be the most important of the videos that we're putting out, which is about what we call the foundation of health. If you watched our introduction video, then you know that we talked about the three areas that we focus on to help people get healthy, to feel better, to regain their health. And the third one that we talked about in the introduction was the nervous system itself, and that is what we consider the foundation of the results that we get in our office and of health. As an overview, it's the most important. But in order to talk about health, in order to talk about what the foundation of health is, we have to start with just a basic question, which is, what is the definition of health? What does it mean to be healthy? Because if that's our goal, we have to know what it is we're shooting for. And I've been asking this question for years, and when I pose that question, for people to give me an answer, the answers are usually things like, well, health is when you feel good, or health is when you don't have to take medication, or health is when you're able to get up and do what you want to do. And those are all good answers, but they're far from where they need to be as far as what the real definition of health is. If you look up in a dictionary the word health, you'll see different ones depending on the dictionary, but if you summarize what's out there, the answer is simply this: health is when your body functions at 100%. That's what health is. It has nothing to do with how you feel or how you're able to get through the day or whether you're on medication. In fact, those are actually dangerous ways to define your health, because we go through life and we think, well, I feel fine, I must be healthy. When the truth of the matter is people have cancer and diabetes and high blood pressure and degeneration and arthritis and all kinds of things, and they feel fine when they have it. So it's very important that we get away from that definition. We do the same thing with our kids. Oh, my kids feel fine. They must be healthy. They don't complain about anything. By the time we have a complaint, by the time we have a symptom, the process has already begun. It may be even too late in some categories. So this definition is important. If your goal is to be healthy, then your goal needs to be for your body, your children's body, to function at 100%. Okay? Now, if the goal now is to function at 100%, if that's what health is, well, that's different steps. And going back to the previous definition, is that if all our goal is to feel good, well, that leads us to the temptation of the medications that we talked about. It's really easy to just take Tylenol if all we want to do is feel good. But if we want to function at our best, well, we can't just take Tylenol. We have to do something different. We can't just go to the chiropractor and get an adjustment to feel better. We have to go to the chiropractor or the doctor for a different reason. So the first thing we need to talk about now that we understand what health is, well, what is it that makes our body function? What is it that makes all the organs and the cells and the muscles and your immune system, what is it that makes all that work? Well, the answer is your central nervous system. Now, by central nervous system, what I mean is that your brain, your spinal cord, and your nerves control every function in the body. Look this up in any anatomy book or physiology book, and it'll talk about the central nervous system controls and coordinates all the functions of the body. Now, let me rephrase that, and I want you to key in on the word all. The central nervous system controls all of the functions of your body. So just the fact that you're hearing me right now is because your nervous system is taking these sounds and processing them into your brain so you can understand it. The fact that you're sitting there with your heart beating on a regular basis and your lungs breathing, these are your nervous system controlling that. Your nervous system's telling your heart to beat and your lungs to breathe. Your nervous system right now is helping you digest your lunch or your breakfast and move those foods into proteins and carbohydrates and amino acids and vitamins, and move them to where they need to be in your body. Your nervous system is making your eyes work and your skin sensation. When you pick up a newborn baby and you feel that tenderness and that love, that's your nervous system relating to his body or her body. Your nervous system controls all your hormones. It controls your digestion. It controls every gland, cell, organ, your muscle strength, your hand-eye coordination, balance. Every single thing that happens inside your body is under the control of the nervous system. That's why, as the body develops from early on at conception, one of the first recognizable structures in the development of a human being is the brain and the spinal cord. And the reason is that that's what coordinates the rest of the growth of the body. But let's go a little bit deeper. A lot of people get that. They go, okay, that makes sense. Your brain, your spinal cord, your nerves controls everything. That's why if we see it damaged, brain death is basically death. Spinal cord damage is paralyzation. We get that. We understand that. But let's go a little bit further, because this is a deeper concept. Now that we know that health is when your body functions at 100%, now that we know that what makes your body function is the nervous system, there's one more question. What is it that makes our nervous system function? What makes your brain work? What makes your spinal cord work and the nerves work? How does that work? Now, this is a little bit more difficult question, and I don't get a lot of answers on this. In fact, a lot of people just kind of get stumped at this point. I've heard people say, well, it's electricity, or it's chemicals, and then I always say, well, what makes the electricity know what to do, and what makes the chemicals know what to do? And then people say, well, it's the heart. No, the heart only runs because the nervous system tells it to. What is it that makes your brain work? What is it that makes this body stay alive ultimately, if it's not just the nervous system? Well, this is where we get into a little bit of philosophy. My belief is that we have an intelligence inside of our body, an amazing intelligence inside of our body that is bigger than us. I credit it back to the gift that we were given from our Creator, our God. In Genesis 2:7, it says basically that the Lord breathed into the man, and the man became a living soul. That breath is life that's inside of us. You see, if you take two people, an alive person and a dead person, all the physical components are the same. They both have muscles. They both have a brain and nervous system and nerves. They have skin and blood and bones. It's all the same, especially if the person just immediately died. But there is a difference. There's a difference between a live person and a dead person that you can't necessarily see or hold or touch, and it is life. But even a 2-year-old can tell the difference between an alive person and a dead person. The reason this is important is that I want you to start trusting your body. Your body is so intelligent. It knows how to heal. It knows how to grow. It knows how to function and do the things that it needs to do, as long as we don't interfere with it. And that's the problem that we're running into, is that we are interfering with this intelligence that keeps our body alive and keeps it functioning. Now, how does this relate to that nervous system? Well, the nervous system is what makes our body function, but the nervous system is the transport system for the intelligence that your body has inside of it, this amazing intelligence. So let's look a little bit more at this nervous system and how we impact that in our office. You see, there's really only one thing in your body that has armor. It's fully protected. And guess what it is? It's the nervous system. Now, why do you think the nervous system has armor? Now, what I mean by armor is that the skull is the armor that protects the brain. The spinal column, the vertebrae that make up the spinal column, those are the armor that protect the spinal cord. Now, why do you think the brain and spinal cord has armor, where, say, the heart doesn't or the liver doesn't? Of course, there's a rib cage around it, but not this kind of armor. Why do you think? Well, the reason is that if the brain gets damaged, that's when life stops. When the spinal column, when the spinal cord gets damaged, that's when life stops from that point down. So the spinal cord and the brain are essential to life. That's where life comes from. That's what makes our body work. All of that intelligence inside our body goes through it. So that's why we have the armor. And the armor is designed fantastic. It is an amazing armor that gives us mobility and protection at the same time. What do you think would happen? Actually, I'm going to back up. What do you think would happen if, and what we're looking at here as far as the spine goes, this is what it's supposed to look like. If we're looking at the spine from the back side, which is on your right, if we're looking at it from the back, the spine should be straight as can be. If we're looking at it from the side view, the spine should actually have those curves to it. That normal position keeps the spinal cord relaxed and protected and functioning at 100% so that life force, that intelligence can run back and forth from the brain through the spinal cord and out to the rest of the body. What do you think would happen if one of those bones or a section of those bones got out of its normal alignment? What if you were in a car accident and you suffered an extreme whiplash? Or what if a football injury? Or what if you just had some bad posture habits that changed that structure of the spine, changed it in a different direction? What do you think the impact of that would be? Well, what that does is that creates interference. Interference to your nervous system, interference to the intelligence that runs your body. Let me tell you how this works. Show you how this works. If one of those vertebrae get out of alignment, it only has to shift a little bit. In fact, what we know from science is that if you put pressure on a nerve, it will disrupt what that nerve is, the signals that the nerve is sending to. It takes less than the weight of a quarter. So if you take a quarter and you put it on your skin, you put it on your hand, less than the weight of a quarter to interfere with the impulses along that nerve. So it doesn't take a lot of pressure on a nerve to mess it up. You've probably felt that or given that sensation if you've ever hit your funny bone. You hit right on that nerve and all of a sudden then you get a tingling down the rest of that arm and down into the hand. That's that nerve being interfered with, interference to that nerve. Now it rebounds and heals. But when a vertebrae or the spine gets out of its normal position, it creates more interference to that, and if it's not corrected, it gets worse. Now let me show you how this works. If you take a rubber band and you take it and you wrap it real tight around the base of one of your fingers and you just leave it there, what's going to happen to your finger? You're right. It's going to start to swell, and it's going to start to turn red, and then it's probably going to start to hurt, and it's going to throb. And if I leave that rubber band on there long enough, what's eventually going to happen to my finger? Well, if you leave it there long enough, it's going to start to turn blue and then black, and it's eventually going to die. Now, why is your finger going to die? Because what we've done with the rubber band is we've cut life off to it. We've cut blood supply off to it. We've cut the nervous system off to it, and so it's not connected to life anymore, and so it dies. Now, let me ask you this. What would be the best way to treat that? If we have a rubber band on the finger and it hasn't died yet, but it's red and blue and starting to hurt and swell, what's the best way to treat that finger? Should we rub it? Should we rub some liniment on it? Should we take some Tylenol for it? That'll make it feel better. Should we cut it open and let it bleed and relieve the pressure? What should we do to it? Well, I think the easy answer, as you figured out, is we'll take the rubber band off. And once we take the rubber band off, then what happens to the finger? Yeah, it starts to heal. The swelling starts to go down. The color starts to come back. It starts to heal. As long as we don't wait too late to take that rubber band off, the finger starts to heal and it starts to come back because we've reconnected to life. Okay? Well, that's exactly what happens inside your spine is if those vertebrae get out of their normal alignment and they put enough pressure on that nerve to choke it, then we've choked off or diminished life to wherever that nerve goes. Those nerves go everywhere, and so we can be very specific. In fact, let me back up one more. Each vertebrae and each nerve that comes out of each vertebrae is linked to different parts of your body. And so if we get a misalignment, say in the upper part of the neck, what we know from anatomy is that's going to affect the muscles of the upper neck. It's going to affect the head itself. It can affect things like your vision and hearing and your immune system. So those would be where your body would be cut life off to, and those are where you get to be symptoms. Let's say it was your lower neck. Let's say the lower neck is out of alignment. If that's putting pressure on the nerves, those nerves go to things like your throat, your neck and shoulders, down into the arms and hands. It goes to things like your thyroid, your tonsils, your adenoids. So if the lower neck's out of alignment and putting pressure on the nerves, what you're cutting life off to is those areas, and so the symptoms become my neck hurts, or my arms going numb, or my thyroid's not working good, or I'm getting lots of sore throats or strep throat. That would be the result of cutting off life there. If we go to, say, the middle back, say that T5, T6 area, if we get out of alignment there and we put pressure on the nerves there, guess where those nerves go? You can look this up in any anatomy book. The nerves at T5 and T6 go to things like your stomach and your gallbladder and your pancreas. And so if those nerves don't work right, guess where you're going to have symptoms? You're going to have muscle pain around your shoulder blades and middle back. You're going to have gallbladder problems, stomach problems, indigestion, gastric reflux, high-low blood sugars can be affected there. What about the lower back? The lower back, the nerves that come out of the lower back. These nerves control and coordinate the muscles and tissues down the legs. So you might get leg pain or leg numbness or sciatica. But those nerves also go to the reproductive organs. They go to the large intestines. They go to the bladder. And so we might get constipation or have trouble with bladder infections or menstrual cramps or difficulty getting pregnant or prostate problems. You see, what's happening is that if these vertebrae get out of alignment, it's like having a rubber band around those nerves starts to interfere with the life communication to those organs, which then in turn starts to turn into symptoms, which then in turn starts to turn into disease. Whereas if we can get the pressure off of the nerves, if we can take the rubber band off by getting the vertebrae back into their normal alignment, then we know that your body can start to heal. And just by doing this, just by realigning and restructuring the spine and stopping that damage, we see amazing results with patients. As I said in my introduction, I can't remove those problems. I can't remove constipation, or I can't remove ulcers or ear infections, but what we can do is we can remove the interference and add light or health or add that intelligence back into your body and let your body heal itself. And that happens all the time in our office. Sometimes people get 1 or 2 adjustments and have amazing symptoms go away. Sometimes we have to work on people for months to get their spine in better shape because they've waited so long and had so much damage. So let's kind of look at more at what the spine looks like. When people start in our office, one of the things we like to do is we like to take an x-ray of their spine. I think it's important to know what we're dealing with as far as the spine goes, and this gives you an idea. The x-ray on the left is what a normal neck x-ray should look like. So the front is the left side, the back is the right side. We're looking at it from the side view. It should have a nice curve. See how it's got a nice curve to it, C-shaped curve. You see the spaces between the bones, those are good. Let's go to the x-ray on the right. The x-ray on the right is what we call a reversed cervical curve, which is the most common condition I'm seeing right now in children, but it's also extremely common in adults. But this cervical curve, if the one on the left is normal, the one on the right, you can see because it's a backwards curve, is actually stretching the spinal cord around those nerves and putting abnormal pressure on the discs, the nerves, and the spinal cord. That is inhibiting and causing malfunction to the nervous system and the intelligence that the body uses. Now, one thing interesting about this type of a posture or this type of misalignment, there was 2 studies done, one in a journal called Spine, which is a medical journal that just studies the spine, and one in a journal called the American Geriatric Journal, and both of them studied postural distortions. One was a reverse cervical curve, and one was where older people get that hump in the middle of the back. And both of them determined that those abnormal postures were indicators of premature death. Now, what they didn't go on to say is why. And what I'm going to tell you is the reason why is that when you lose the posture and the strength and the integrity of the spine, it puts pressure on the nervous system. And when you have pressure on the nervous system, it disrupts the intelligence that runs your body and causes your body to malfunction, which makes sense that you would have more pain, more disease, and a shorter lifespan because of it, doesn't it? Let's look at another picture here. If you've got kids, then you've seen your kids in this posture. This is one of the biggest epidemics we've had, is kids sitting with iPads and cell phones and iPods with these postures. You can see the boy on the right with the iPad. You can see the adults on the left, especially the one in the background. He's not holding an iPod, but that's what they look like when they're holding an iPod or iPad or cell phone. These are the postures that we're seeing kids in all the time. Well, guess what that does to their necks? It makes them look like that, the one on the right. If we spend our time in this position, don't you think over time your neck would start to grow to that position? Absolutely. And then guess what? Those are the kids that end up having headaches and more ear infections, which are then treated with more medication. And it just becomes a downward spiral. And of course, these are also the people that end up being the older people. You see the lady in the wheelchair, how she's all humped over. That didn't just happen overnight. That happened over time. And we've got to stop this process. It's having too big of an effect on our health. This is an x-ray of what the neck looks like over time. Because if we keep our neck in this position, this malformed position, it will deteriorate. So when I get kids in, they look like this. When I get adults in, they look like this. You see the spaces between the bones at the top? See, there's a space there, but as we go down, you see the spaces in between get smaller where the bottom arrow is. That's called degeneration of the spine. That's disc degeneration. And when you have abnormal functioning joints, it deteriorates. Now, it takes years for this to happen, but it happens without you knowing it. You don't necessarily feel this or know it's happening. I tell people it's similar to like a cavity in your tooth. You go to the dentist, they find a cavity. It doesn't mean it necessarily hurt. So as this deteriorates and we lose that space for the bones, as the space disappears, the bones end up settling down and putting more and more pressure on the nerves. Now eventually you'll get the symptom, but by the time you get the symptom, sometimes it's too late. So everybody should have their spine checked and looked at to make sure that it, number one, is in proper alignment, and number two, that it's not deteriorating, to give you the best chance at being your best and being healthy. So one of the other things we do, we take the x-rays of people, but one of the other things we do is we do a thermal scan, a thermography, and a surface EMG to tell us what your nervous system is doing and how your nerves are actually working. The scan on the left is somebody that came to see us with symptoms and came to see us for care. And so if you notice, the white bars are normal nerves. The green bars are mildly irritated nerves. The blue bars are medium or moderate pressure on nerves, and the red bars are severe. So we can look at this person, whether we know they have symptoms or not, and tell that this person's sick. They are not healthy, because remember, health is when you function at 100%. This person's not functioning well. Symptoms, if we take any anatomy book out, we can look at C2 through C6, and we can tell that their symptoms are probably going to be headaches, neck pain, but it could be upper respiratory infections, ear infections. It could be thyroid problems, tonsil problems, sore throats, arm and shoulder pain, numbness. That's the type of symptoms they'd have there. In the middle back, T3, 4, and 5, this would be nerves that would affect the shoulder blades, the shoulders, the lungs, the heart, the gallbladder, the stomach. Those are the areas. So this is where this person would probably have symptoms. Well, this happened to be a young man that came to see me with no aches and pains, but pretty severe asthma. And of course, after a period of time of working and getting pressure off the nerves and getting the spine in better shape, the after picture shows a nervous system that's functioning very well. Well, guess what happened to the asthma? It eventually cleared up and went away. Not because we took it away, but because we added health back into his body. We get his body to start functioning closer to 100%, and the body was able to heal it. Very, very cool stuff. So how do we do that? How do we change the spine? Well, one of the ways we do it is with adjustments. An adjustment is a very safe, very easy thing. Now, a lot of people come in and see us and they say, well, I'm nervous about getting adjusted. And I always say, look, let me walk you through everything really slow. I'll tell you everything I'm doing. I'll tell you what it's going to sound like, what it's going to feel like, everything about it. And when you're done, you'll feel much more relaxed about it. And everybody is. They get done with it and they say, wow, I don't know what I was nervous about. That felt good. The kids that we work with, if you want to know how bad it is, they fight over who's going to be first. Who gets to be first one on the table to get an adjustment? So if it's bad, they wouldn't do it. The adjustments are easy. Of course, with the adjustments, what we also do is we have a rehab department, and we give you exercises and stretches, and we work on posture and traction and all these types of things, because the adjustments alone won't completely change a spine, but they're part of it. And then, of course, as we talked about in our intro video, we use things like nutrition and exercise and things like that to complete this. So, again, this is another short overview, but this is a little bit longer. It's a little bit more in depth. I hope it makes sense. This is extremely powerful how your body works if you understand it. If you have questions, call us, set up an appointment to come talk to us. I'd love to. Again, mylifesource.net is our website. You can find us on Facebook. You can find the videos on YouTube. Phone number 615-441-6115. This is Chad, Dr. Chad Upchurch. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.